Hello friends, welcome back to my home and into my kitchen here at All Things Kitchen. So I make my own granola and I really like my granola, but I've been wanting to make granola bars and I've tried it in the past and I didn't like what I made. So I am going to try it again and I thought I'd bring you guys along with me while we try a granola bar recipe and see how it works. I'm basically going to be using my granola recipe and making it into a granola bar. So if you want to come down here with me as we prepare the ingredients, and hopefully you can get some inspiration to do something that you've wanted to do or maybe tried to do in the past, and maybe you can try it again and see if it's successful. We'll see if this is successful here at the end. So I'm going to bring you down here and we'll get the ingredients ready. So we're going to start off with 2 cups of oats, and we're going to toast these first. Normally when I make granola, I mix all the ingredients together and then that all gets baked. So we've got 2 cups of oats and I'm going to do 1 cup of sliced almonds. This is a 2-cup measuring cup. So I'm going to put those on here. I have my oven heating to 325 degrees. And I'm just going to kind of spread these out. And we're going to put these in the oven and let it toast for about 10 minutes. So I've got a vanilla bean here that's been sitting in my vanilla extract. It's already starting to leak out a little bit because it is cut open already. But I'm going to use the seeds from this pod to put in my pan. I have a pan here. I've got 3 tablespoons of butter that we're going to melt on the stove. Let me see if I can get these seeds out here. Do my best. Not making too much of a mess. Oh, that's just yummy goodness. I'm just going to put that in there just like that because that is yummy goodness. I'll just wipe my knife there on the butter. So this is going to melt and I'm going to put in a 1/2 cup of honey and a 1/4 cup of light brown sugar, lightly packed. So I'm going to get this on the stove. I'll bring you over here on the stove with me. So I've got the butter there along with that vanilla pod, just 1/2 pod with the seeds. That again is a 1/4 cup of lightly packed light brown sugar. Pardon the technical difficulties there with the microphone. I am going to add that 1/2 cup. Ooh, this honey. Oh my goodness. This is a new honey for me. Look how thick and luscious that is. Ooh. That could be a commercial right there for sure. Goodness gracious. It's so thick and dark. That's even thicker than molasses. We normally buy orange blossom honey, and this is just raw unfiltered honey. So it said. Oh goodness, that is some thick stuff. Okay, so we're going to bring this up to temperature, let everything melt. The oats and almonds, timer's getting ready to go off, so I'm going to add in 1 cup of shredded coconut. I'm going to add that into the oven so it can toast as well. I can definitely see that the almonds are getting toasty. I don't know if you can tell the color on those, but they're getting toasty. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that coconut right on top. And that is too hot for me to even hold. Okay, so I'm gonna put this back in for another 5 minutes to get toasty. And I'll bring you back when this all starts to melt and get nice and yummy. I just got the coconut and oats and almonds out of the oven, so I'm getting them off the pan to stop the cooking process. This pan is hot. There we go. Whew. The butter and honey is still in process of melting. So while this is cooling down a little bit and the butter and honey are heating up, I'm going to go ahead and take my 13x9 casserole dish and get this lined with parchment paper so that we can put our mixture in here after it's all mixed together. And before I go get that parchment paper, I do also have a 1.5 cups of dried cranberries. You can put in here whatever you want to. This is where I want you to get your inspiration from. What do you like to eat? What tastes good to you? If you don't like coconut, don't put it in there. If you don't like almonds, don't put those in there. You could maybe put some pecans in there. All that is up to you, what your taste preferences are. That's the fun thing about cooking from scratch in your kitchen. So I have my parchment paper here. This is so it doesn't stick in the pan, and so we can get it out pretty easy. So I'm going to grab a pair of scissors here, and I'm going to cut my corners. And just very simply, yes, I am cutting corners. I made a joke. Turn this around. And by doing this, it'll let me overlap right here at the corner. And it doesn't have to be precise, but then that way it fits in there nice. And you can trim it more. You can do whatever works for you. Okay, gonna have a little bit of an overhang. Got my corners crossed, cutting corners, crossing corners. All right, I'm gonna set this aside. So this is all ready for our granola mixture. And I'm gonna bring you back right over here to see how our butter and honey mixture is doing. So I also need to add a little dash of salt in. We've talked about this. Salt is flavor. Just about 1/4 teaspoon. Nothing too much. The almonds were raw almonds, so there was no salt on them. I am using salted butter. I always use salted butter. So there's a little bit of salt in there, so that will help. But salt can help with sweet things as well. So we're just going to let the sugar melt in there and the butter with this honey. Get that to a liquid state. And we're going to do, just kind of cook this, let it simmer a little bit, bring it up to heat for about 5 minutes. I'll bring you back. So all this is blended together. Everything's nice and melted. I've kind of given the vanilla pod a little smush against the side to make sure all those vanilla seeds come out. And I'm just going to turn off the heat now and set this aside and let it cool down just for about 5 to 10 minutes before we add it into our mixture. And before we add it into our mixture, I will take that vanilla pod out. But that's what we're going to do. We're just going to set this aside for about 5-10 minutes. I'll set my timer and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've given the honey mixture time to chill out a little bit, and I'm just going to pour that right over my oats and dried cranberries and coconut. And we're going to blend this all in together. Now, when I make my just regular granola, sometimes I use honey and sometimes I use maple syrup and sometimes I use a combination of both. And like I said, the honey that we normally use is orange blossom honey, but I didn't have enough of it to do this whole recipe. So I went and just used just the regular plain old honey. And so we're going to see if this holds together nicely, has a good flavor. I'm sure it will. And just giving that a mix. And then I'm going to pull the dish over. And that's all the cooking there is to this. The rest, we just put this in the container and press it down in here and it chills in the refrigerator. There's no more cooking than that. Sure looks pretty. I'm just going to spread this out a little bit, and then I'm going to use the other side of my spatula to press it down into place. Just to get it in there nice and tight. Maybe this is a step that I missed last time. Plus, this does look a lot wetter than the last batch that I made. And the last batch I made, I mean, it tasted good. It was more like granola that was stuck together rather than a granola bar, because it just didn't stick together very well. It was very crumbly. So I'm very much hoping that this does stick together and stay in bar shape. And so I'm going to make sure that I pack it down really well so that it will do that. And I could probably, I know I can. I'm just going to grab this Silpat right here, and this will help me put a little bit more pressure on it than just using that flimsy spatula. And it's not too warm. So just kind of thinking outside the box here of how I could press that down good. And that came off nice and clean. That looks beautiful. So I'm going to get this in the refrigerator. We'll let it chill for a couple of hours, and that'll be a perfect time so that I can have a dessert tonight after dinner. So I will bring you back when it's all done. We'll cut it into bar shapes and we'll see how it tastes. So it's time, and I just took the granola bars out of the refrigerator, and oh, yeah, they popped right out. So I'm going to bring it down and we're going to cut these and hope they turn out. So I just put them down here on the cutting board, and I'm just going to pull the parchment paper away. It comes away very nicely. Oh, see, it's kind of bendy. I'm gonna flip this over. Beautiful. Let's see here. Cut it in half first. I think these are going to stay together nicely. Then I'm going to cut this into thirds. And then I'll cut that in half. So I should get 12 bars out of this. So I've got one of the granola bars here, and we're going to taste it together. Fingers crossed that it works. Mm-hmm. It's sticking together. It's not crumbling apart. It's sweet, but not too sweet. If you wanted a bit more sweetness, you could add like some chocolate chips to it. I thought about adding some dark chocolate chips, but I don't really, I mean, sometimes I have chocolate on my granola bars, but a lot of times I'm going to, like, I plan on eating this for breakfast. And I don't need to eat chocolate for breakfast. So I think it would be really good with the maple syrup in there as well. I think that would just add a different layer of flavor, but it is really good. I've got the almonds that I'm tasting in there and the coconut too, the toasted coconut. Toasting the oats and the almonds and the coconut really does add a depth of flavor. I think it's delicious. I hope that you give this a try, whether it's this recipe or a spin on this recipe, or maybe something that you've tried before in the past that didn't quite work out. Give it a try again if it's something that you really want in your household. If you like this, I hope you consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. I do hope to see you back here again. I appreciate your time, and I'm so glad that you spent this little bit of time with me here today while we made these granola bars. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Take care.